Hey there YouTube lovers, my name is BB8 and today we are going to predict the rest of the Booster Course Pass. Like, you're probably wondering, BB8, didn't I already do a video on this, like, earlier in the year? Well, yes, I did, but now, with Wave 3 of the Booster Course Pass now out, I feel like we can do a prediction video based on the data mines and the tracks we have already got in the Booster Course Pass. And I have waited until Wave 3 was revealed before doing this video. And without further ado, before we predict what tracks are going to be included in the 3 remaining waves, we are going to compare my predictions to what Nintendo actually brought out. So for Wave 2, I predicted we would get London Loop from Tour, GBA Yoshi Desert, GCN Daisy Cruiser, and Wii Maple Tree Way. But for the Turnip Cup, we ended up with New York Minute, Mario Circuit 3, Calamari Desert, and Waluigi Pinball. For the Propeller Cup, I predicted we would get Tour, New York Minute, 3DS Cheap Cheap Lagoon, Wii Mushroom Gorge, which is the only track in the Booster Course Pass I have got spot on prediction so far, and GCN Mushroom City. But Nintendo actually gave us Sydney Sprints, GBA Snowland. I like what they have done with the GBA tracks, making it pop up a bit more, similar to what they did do with Sky Gardens from Wave 1 and Boo Lake in Wave 3. And Mushroom Gorge, like I just said, I did get Mushroom Gorge spot on compared to Nintendo's prediction. And Sky High Sunday, which is an original track. I didn't really see Sky High Sunday coming when I originally did the prediction video, and I didn't really see any form of original track being used at all. But it is good that we are getting original tracks in here, similar to how we have had Ninja Hideaway, which did appear in Tour as well in Wave 1, and Merry Mountain in Wave 3. So for Wave 3, I did predict we would get Tour Vancouver Velocity, which would have made sense since the time of this wave coming out is around Christmas time, so Vancouver Velocity with some wintry elements in there would have made a lot of sense to include in the wave. N64 Wario Stadium, DS Airship Fortress, and Wii DK Summit. So for the Moon Cup, I predicted we would get Tour Los Angeles Laps, 3DS Shy Guy Bazaar, Wii Toad Factory, and DS Waluigi Pinball, with the only track that I had predicted to be in this wave that actually did make it into the Booster Course Pass is Waluigi Pinball, but it did make it in one wave earlier, which is a win-win for me. And what Nintendo actually brought out, we got London Loop from Tour, GBA Boo Lake, which has recently appeared in Tour, so it does make sense to be included in this. Rock Mountain from the 3DS, which does make sense because this is the Rock Cup, and Wii Maple Tree Way. In my opinion, Maple Tree Way being included in this wave doesn't really make sense, and I thought it did make sense to be in Wave 6 because Maple Tree Way is like an autumn theme course, and it would have made more sense to be a part of the Acorn Cup. But still, it is good that we've got Maple Tree Way, a good track from Mario Kart Wii. And for the Moon Cup, we got Berlin Byways, DS Peach Gardens, Tour Merry Mountain, and 3DS Rainbow Road. Like, DS Peach Gardens, I did put in my prediction video, but I predicted it would make it in later on. But it is nice to see Peach Gardens return, because we haven't really seen this track in a long time. And I am surprised that 3DS Rainbow Road made it into this wave, only because I did predict we would get Rainbow Road in the last wave. But it is nice to see Rainbow Road make it in to the Booster Course Pass earlier on instead of at the end. And I do predict that we will get one other Rainbow Road in the Spiny Cup when the Booster Course Pass comes to an end. So that was what I have predicted from the 2 waves we've already got, with the only few tracks that I have brought up in here. Not that many tracks I predicted have made it in so far. Like, the ones that did make it in are London Loop, New York Minute, Mushroom Gorge, Maple Tree Way, Waluigi Pinball, and, of course, 3DS Rainbow Road. But a few from the list I did earlier in the year did manage to make it in to the Booster Course Pass, and I am hoping that a few more of my favourites do end up making it in. I'm praying now, DS Luigi's Mansion, they better include it. So now we are getting into predicting the rest of the tracks, and I have made a bunch of tweaks to my prediction list since I last did it. I thought I would take resemblance from the Datamine, because the placeholders were actually data mined for each console and which console cup that would be from. And since we have had some tracks already confirmed through the Datamine, I thought I would use the tracks anyway. So for wave 4, I went with Tour and Amsterdam Drift. The second track of the Fruit Cup was Datamine to be from Mario Kart Wii, which I'm predicting now this is DK Summit, which will end up taking its appearance from Tour and not Mario Kart Wii. The third cup being the DS Cup, which I did go for DS Luigi's Mansion, which I know a lot of people have been going for Airship Fortress, but DS Luigi's Mansion is my childhood, so I thought I'd go to DS Luigi's Mansion instead of tying in with everybody else and going with Airship Fortress. So I thought I'd take my own path and bring Luigi's Mansion to the mix, only because DS Luigi's Mansion is one of my top 5 favourite tracks that are still not in the game yet, since we already have Wario's Gold Mine, Waluigi Pinball, Coconut Mall, and Mushroom Gorge. DS Luigi's Mansion is the only of my 5 favourites that have not made it in yet. And to end it off, a placeholder wasn't really data mined for the last track, so I thought, similar to what the other cups have done by including a new original track in there, or a track from Tour that isn't a city track, kind of like how we've had Ninja Hideaway in Wave 1, Sky High Sunday in Wave 2, and Merry Mountain in Wave 3, I thought Wave 4 could have a brand new Yoshi's Island inspired track to go along with it. So, for the Boomerang Cup, I went with Tour Singapore Speedway, the GameCube track, which has been data mined to be in the second track of the Boomerang Cup, which I did go for Daisy Cruiser, making this the first GameCube track to make it in to the Booster Course Pass, since unfortunately Waluigi Stadium was data mined to be in Wave 3, but was actually replaced with Maple Treeway. So I thought, let's finally put some GameCube tracks in here and put Daisy Cruiser in the Boomerang Cup. The third track of the Boomerang Cup was data mined to be Riverside Park, a GBA track. It was data mined to be a GBA track, so I thought I did do some looking into when it comes to GBA tracks, and I do like what they have done with each and one of the GBA tracks by making them pop out a bit more within the DLC. So I thought, with this track's recent appearance in Mario Kart Tour, I thought I would go with Riverside Park from the GBA. Only because this track has appeared in Tour recently that I thought I would include it in the Booster Course Pass. And I don't know why, but the last track in the Boomerang Cup was data mined to be Los Angeles Laps, which it doesn't really make sense having two different city tracks in one cup. So I ended up pushing Los Angeles Laps to a different cup. It may have just been a placeholder, and I thought I would put another track in there known as 3DS Daisy Hills, since it hadn't been data mined that we would get another 3DS track, and since there is so many placeholders within the Booster Course Pass that have not been data mined yet, I thought there is still a few tracks that could make it in here that we don't know of. So this is my prediction for Wave 4. Hopefully some of these I get right, which I will come back to this video soon as Wave 4 comes out to check what predictions I got right. For Wave 5, I went for Tour Los Angeles Laps, since it was data mined to be at the end of the Boomerang Cup for some reason, and that didn't really make sense. So I pushed Los Angeles Laps to the Feather Cup. The second track of the Feather Cup was data mined to be from the Wii, so I did end up going for Cooper Cape. Only because I do think it makes sense to have this track in the game. I think mainly due to its Tour inclusion, hopefully. And with this track being included in Mario Kart 7, I do think Cooper Cape could actually have a chance to be in the game. GBA Sunset Wilds, already being data mined from Wave 5 anyway, and a brand new Tour original track, which it could be anything. We don't know what this track could be. Like, I couldn't come up with any ideas myself for what this track could be, but I am guessing that one of the cups is going to end up ending with a Tour original track. And the Cherry Cup, we have Bangkok Rush from Tour, DK Mountain from the GameCube, which I do think DK Mountain now has a chance to appear in the Booster Course Pass, only because DK Mountain has appeared in Tour alongside Riverside Park, and it has been a long time since we've seen DK Mountain in a Mario Kart game. I think last time was Mario Kart Wii. So could we get the first appearance of DK Mountain in 15 years. We have to find out. And for the SNES track, since the third track in the Cherry Cup was datamined to be from the SNES, there was Easter eggs throughout the tracks hinting towards this track, and I went with Vanilla Lake. Only because there was Easter eggs hinting towards it in Coconut Mall that I thought it would make sense to put in the Booster Course Pass, making this the final SNES track of the Booster Course Pass. And there was no placeholder for the final track in the Cherry Cup, so I thought I'd just pick out a track at random from one of my favourite Mario Kart games, and since this wave has already had its Wii track, and we hadn't had a DS track in the wave yet, so I went for DS Yoshi Falls. This track hasn't really appeared for a long time, and I know Yoshi Falls would have made a lot of sense to go in the Fruit Cup, because those are the fruit that Yoshi eats, and I thought DS Luigi's Mansion would have made a lot of sense to go here. I thought I would put Yoshi Falls as a placeholder, only because Mario Kart DS is my favourite Mario Kart game that I thought I had to put a DS track in here for a reason. And finally, for Wave 6, this one did have a few placeholders missing, so I thought I would pick some tracks of my own out at random to put in here, just as fillers for the waves. So, the Acorn Cup will start off with Tour Vancouver Velocity. The second track would end up being Waluigi Stadium from the GameCube, only because Maple Tree Way was originally datamined to be here, but unfortunately Maple Tree Way made it into Wave 3 instead of Waluigi Stadium. And it has been a long time since we've had Waluigi Stadium in a Mario Kart game. I think Mario Kart Wii was the last time, so I thought I would pick Waluigi Stadium to be in the Booster Course Pass in the Acorn Cup. And with the final two tracks of the Acorn Cup not having placeholders yet, I thought the third track I picked was 3DS Rosalina's Ice World. And there was a lack of 3DS representation in the Booster Course Pass, so I thought I would pick 3DS Rosalina's Ice World, because yes, this track does appear in Tour, and I do think 3DS Rosalina's Ice World will probably be saved for last at this rate. And if they were to include one more track from the 3DS, Rosalina's Ice World would definitely be my pick. And finally, to end off the Acorn Cup, I went with Airship Fortress, just to make some of you happy. Only because I didn't include Airship Fortress in Wave 4 is because I picked Luigi's Mansion, because that track is actually my childhood, and I do think this track would be the Bowser's Castle equivalent if it was to make it in to Wave 6. And I know that Airship Fortress is a good track and all, but Luigi's Mansion is in my top 5. But I do think they will save Airship Fortress for last. And finally, to end off the whole video, like almost, the first track in the Spiny Cup is an original from Tour, which at this point we have technically run out of Tour original city tracks we could use for the Booster Course Pass, so I end up picking a random city in the world, so I ended up picking Seoul in South Korea. the second track in the Spiny Cup, I went for Dino Jungle. Because Dino Jungle has actually appeared in Mario Kart Tour, and I didn't feel like including Dino Jungle and DK Mountain in the same wave, only because their music is too similar. So I kind of splitted them into two different waves by having Dino Jungle in wave 6 and DK Mountain in wave 5. And for the third cup, and for the third track in the Spiny Cup, of course, no placeholder has been decided for this track yet, but of course, I went for GBA Bowser's Castle. Only because Bowser's Castle in the Mario Kart games was traditionally coming before Rainbow Road. And the final track in here is, of course, Rainbow Road, so I thought, I know Bowser's Castle from the GBA isn't really needed, but I really like the music, and I really like what they have done with the GBA tracks throughout the Booster Course Pass. And I would love to see what twists they could bring to this track if it was coming to the DLC. And finally, for the final track being Wii Rainbow Road. The final track of the Spiny Cup was datamined to be from Mario Kart Wii, and the final track of Wave 3 is 3DS Rainbow Road, and 3DS Rainbow Road is at the end of the screen. I feel like it would make a lot of sense to include Rainbow Road to end it off, and since it was datamined to be from Mario Kart Wii, I went with Mario Kart Wii Rainbow Road for a reason. And I was surprised that we did get a Rainbow Road in the Booster Course Pass, and I do think if we do end up getting Wii Rainbow Road to end it off, that would give us 5 Rainbow Roads in one game. And I do think Rainbow Road is one I'm really excited to play on if this was come to the Booster Course Pass. So this is what my fan-made Booster Course Pass looks like. Since we already have half of the Booster Course Pass almost, with Wave 3 launching on the 7th of December, I can't wait to see what tracks are going to make it in. Hopefully DS Luigi's Mansion, but this is how I see the Booster Course Pass turning out if the data mines are true. Since we have had a lot of data mine tracks, so I thought I would have handpicked some out of my own and create a Booster Course Pass prediction video, part 2 of my own. So guys, what did you think of my Booster Course Pass prediction video, part 2? Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video, and turn your notification bell on so you don't miss another video like this one. And I will see you all in a future video. BB8 out.